Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Lazy Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Sam Priestley, and as normal we're joined by my lovely wife, Emma Priestley.
Hello!
Emma, today I want to talk about a term that I have heard quite a few times in the last few weeks, and that is aspirational marketing. So I assume you have quite a strong opinion about.
Yeah, definitely, in terms of from a professional point of view and also consumer.
Well, it's something I don't think I'd actually heard before. If I had, I'd never really put it together, and it kind of made me think. So what I took aspirational marketing to mean, which I might be wrong, it's like when you're, instead of selling the product itself, you're selling kind of like the lifestyle or something else behind it. So a classic example would be, you're selling perfume, but in the perfume advert, it's a beautiful woman. They're not saying anything about the perfume. They're showing you this person that you want to be yourself. You want to be that person.
Yeah, the impact the product has on your life and what it transforms you into.
And it made me think, because I see a lot of online gurus, people selling courses and stuff like that, and they have like videos where they're sitting on a Ferrari or on a yacht or on a beach telling you how they can make millions, and they're kind of like not really, there's no physical product there, they're just saying, yeah, so that's my course and I've got these great whatevers, while driving in their car and you see like the Ferrari logo or surrounded by beautiful women.
Yeah, so you associate taking their course with having their lifestyle.
Yeah. And I've always been very rude about people who do that. I thought it's a load of nonsense. And I think you do attract a certain type of person with that. But I don't think that is the limit of aspirational marketing. It made me think, like, am I just being... Because up until now, with pretty much every business I've done, I have been quite careful about being authentic and not, like, over-exaggerating the lifestyle that goes along with it. Trying to be quite truthful, a bit too truthful in some cases, where I come across as quite negative about certain things. And am I doing it all wrong?
Well, I think also part of that is that you are an introvert. So it's not really in your day-to-day life to be showing off, oh, look at this new thing I've just bought, or look at this amazing hotel we're staying in, or whatever the thing is. It's not really you to be bragging about it.
I heard something funny the other day. I was listening to another podcast, and the guy on it were chatting, and they said, you need to have a certain strange mix of insecurities in order to be a podcaster. That is where you kind of want to be the centre of attention, but you really don't want like people to look at you too much, and you don't want to be the centre of attention. And I think that's the same about blogging and this podcasting as well. I don't particularly like being centre of attention, but at the same time I kind of do. So
You do in your own way.
I do it my own way. Yeah, I don't like everyone. Yeah, I don't like showing off. I don't like bragging. But I'm also doing this podcast and I'm writing a blog all about me. Isn't that weird?
And also you're writing a blog about you in terms of how you live your life and how you do your work, and you're trying to encourage other people to do the same.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about your working hours and the things you're working on at the moment, the things you'd like to be working on, but you don't talk a lot about your lifestyle around you.
Yeah. Which is weird, isn't it? Because it's something very...
Linked.
Well, it's linked, but it's also quite like, I don't know, like braggy, very snobby to be like, look at all this stuff I'm doing. I think you should copy me.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course that's not the way that you talk about it.
But maybe that is the way I should talk about it. Maybe I need to be a bit more...
Forward.
A bit more ballsy with how I portray stuff. Especially because this podcast is called The Lazy Entrepreneur. It's about... that I'm quite a lazy person. I'm more into the lifestyle and having control of my free time.
And then fitting your work around that.
And fitting my work around it and living the life that I want to live. And I have written before about being a digital nomad and stuff like that. But I've never used that as a way to help promote my stuff and my businesses. They've always been kind of as a side. Just like, I kind of think like, oh, here's what I'm doing with my free time. Do whatever you want to do.
And there is quite a difference in terms of the content. Like, say, let's take your Instagram feed for when we were travelling and being digital nomads versus when we've been in Tunbridge Wells, which is coming up to 2 years now.
Yeah.
Why is it so much easier to post a photo of you working in a cafe that has a sea view in Malta versus you in a cafe in Tunbridge Wells?
I think part of it is I thought it was a bit more applicable to the business. I was talking about, the freedom of travel, freedom of time, and being able to post a picture of writing or doing my work from a beach felt quite relevant.
Yeah.
Whereas now, posting a picture of a lovely flat white and a ham and cheese croissant in the local cafe doesn't seem very applicable at all.
Yeah.
But then neither is sitting on a Ferrari while you're talking about online business.
Yeah, so what is your version of it?
Yeah, so I need to be a bit better. So I do talk a lot about personal branding. In fact, I wrote, let me have a quick look. I wrote a blog post about personal branding not that long ago, in July. I suppose it's quite long ago. Well, I was basically saying everybody needs to now take control of their online presence and actually just really think about it and be specific about what it is they want to show. And not just as a way to protect yourself from, people Googling you or potential employers and stuff like that, but also as a way of promoting you, as help you get a bit more industry recognition or find new clients or something like that. Nowadays, the old CV where you have a very nice one-page resume isn't all that someone's going to see of you. They're probably not going to ring around resumes, but they probably will give you a proper Google and work out everything you've been doing.
So what do you mean by take control of your online presence? Would you start with Googling yourself, and then what would you look at the descriptions in all your profiles of all your kind of social media, like LinkedIn, Facebook? What's described? What's the kind of about us on your company pages? How would you take control?
Yeah, I think it's very specific to what it is that you want to get out of controlling your online presence. Is it simply that you want, when someone Googles your name, to have control of every link on the first page?
Yeah.
In which case that might be create a little profile on loads of different social networks so that then you conquer
ranking
that front
higher.
page. Maybe create your own little page, make sure your LinkedIn page is looking very good and professional. If on the other hand, you're trying to get more, you're trying to get more clients, maybe you've got to look into where they are.
Which platforms?
What platforms are they looking at, and then really target them. It's really about being thinking it through, and as I said, taking control of it.
Yeah.
Realising that your name is inexplicably linked to whatever it is you're doing, and that is true whether you're making gin like we are, or whether you're an accountant.
Yeah, in a massive company.
There's a reason why all the top law firms and professional services are named after the founders. That's not a reward for them. That's because they are the brand. They are the USP that company has.
And they're putting their name on the line.
I think that this personal branding stuff is equally important for us doing stuff like the gin. For instance, with PR, so getting information about us into local newspapers, it's a lot easier to come up with an interesting story around the founders than it is to create an interesting story about this random gin.
Yes.
Us as people are the one thing we have unique that's truly, truly unique around our business. And also, there's so many random things. Because I've written blog posts about starting a gin business, I've had people who just generally, in the industry, who generally Google about gin, come across my stuff and then reach out to me. Got loads of interesting tips off people, or talk to other people starting little businesses. If I hadn't been sort of linking my gin with me as a person, I probably wouldn't have got, because they're not contacting Pipe House Gin, they're contacting Sam Priestley. I don't know, it's probably a little bit wishy-washy what we're talking about, but this aspirational marketing phrase really made me think, am I doing personal branding correctly? There is more I could do.
I think there's always more you can do.
I think I could do it better, because I think that currently I've tried to keep everything a bit too separate.
Yes, so they're not necessarily linked.
They're not necessarily linked, and in some ways I'm very private. And I do write a monthly report and stuff like that. And I'm not saying people should write their own personal blog, whatever, but there are many ways you can kind of
get your message out there.
Get your message out there, link yourself as a brand to your business.
Well, you always said one of the reasons for setting up the blog in the first place was your online CV. So that you could post about all the different businesses that you've set up and still do now, or have sold, whatever. And it was a long form version of your CV.
That is something that I have spoken about in previous podcasts, and I say didn't work. And I think it hasn't worked because I haven't done it properly. When people come across my blog, for one, I think they assume it's a lot smaller in readership and reach than it is. They probably think it's a lot more amateur. Like our businesses are a lot more amateur than what they are. Because if you look at other like entrepreneurs and stuff like that and their online presences, they're very pushy about their success.
Yes.
Then whatever, like Forbes top 50 entrepreneurs under 30 in their bio itself. And I don't really do any of that sort of stuff.
No.
It's very much, oh, look at this little stupid thing I did. Oh, look at our bottles breaking or whatever.
Well, it's real.
It's real, yeah.
You don't inflate anything.
And I don't want to do any online branding stuff that isn't authentic, that isn't true to me.
Yeah.
I was having a little look around. I kind of think now I need to do better on Instagram, for one, because Instagram seems to be a necessary medium. It's got so big now.
Yeah, it's not a nice to have.
It's not a nice to have, which it was 5 years ago. Now it is a necessity, especially for any business, whether it's the gym or the table tennis or my personal blog. And so I was looking around other people who are doing similar things to me and trying to see what they're doing well. And I was really struggling to find people who had the balance right that I kind of liked. So on one hand, you've got people like Jocko Willink, who's this ex-Navy SEAL, massive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. And he posts a picture every morning at 4 a.m. of him in the gym with his watch showing the time and a sweat patch in the background. He's got, millions of followers. And so his brand is that get up early, go get them, go fight for it. Whereas I'm not that. That's not me. I could try and do that and it'd be a lie.
Well, no, it would be the opposite. It would be 11 a.m.
Yeah, I post a picture of me getting up at midday. But then there's the other side, isn't there? There's the whole luxury living side. My life is amazing. And I feel people get trapped into these. They create an idea of what their life is like that they push on social media, and then they get trapped into having to
keep
reiterate
fueling that machine.
Yeah, that kind of
even if it's not real.
Even if it's not real, that kind of constantly living in nice hotels. They start off by it being real, and then that becomes their thing. Or if you're a food blogger, you have to always be going out and eating food, even if you don't feel like it. We watched a documentary about YouTube couples, so people who've made a career for themselves out of being this perfect couple, vlogging on YouTube,
being quite funny and silly, and
quite a lot of them are now broken up, but they were still pretending to be together for the sake of this YouTube thing,
which is crazy.
So,
and it just showed how stressful the documentary was showing that. How stressful their life was, that they're constantly having to live this specific life for the cameras and for their fans, even if they were having a really bad day or they're having a really big argument or whatever emotions they were going through, they had to channel it all into this kind of performance.
Yeah, that's something I don't want to end up doing. I don't want to be
it's not authentic
digital nomad, always travelling, always looking this perfect life and spending hardly any time on my computer working.
Yeah.
I don't want to be... Tim Ferriss suffers from that, doesn't he? Everyone's the 4-hour work week. That guy doesn't work 4 hours a week. He works hundreds of hours a week because he's a workaholic. And he's business, you can work 4 hours a week and you spend the rest of the time doing what you want, which happens to be working.
Yes.
So a lot of people disregard him because of that. But also, that's why he got popular in the first place, that kind of viral...
extreme.
And I know he suffers quite a lot from depression and mental health and stuff like that, but that's not congruent with his brand.
No, you don't want to see that side to him. Yeah,
but then again, people's opinions have changed a bit, and they do want to see that side. A friend of ours, Katie, who does the branding for Pipe House Gin, was talking about this the other day. She was saying she's seen on Instagram it's kind of perfect reality. So it'll be someone holding a crying baby, but with perfect decoration behind them.
Yeah, a perfect house.
Perfect house. It's something real that people can relate to, but also in a perfect environment.
But appreciate how tidy and beautifully decorated the house is, which is kind of unrealistic if you think about it.
Yeah. I think this kind of personal branding stuff is very important for you, given the industry you're trying to break into is quite food and drink.
Image focused.
It's image focused, but also you're approaching it from many different angles.
Yeah.
So you are Emma, you make gin, you run the supper clubs, you're doing some events. Like how the only thing that really crosses all of those things is you.
Yeah.
And so when someone Googles you, they'll come up across your LinkedIn, which will have these random things on it. But on your Instagram, they probably wouldn't really appreciate that. Like how do you build yourself a brand as being Emma, the sort of food and drink person in Tunbridge Wells who's doing interesting stuff? Because you could be like a really famous person locally. So you are doing loads of interesting things.
Yeah.
Like that everyone would have heard of. And a lot of people will have heard of you now, especially people in the food and drink industry, but because of one thing.
Yes.
Not because of the
linkage.
Group.
Yeah. And at the moment, there isn't one platform where I speak about all of the different businesses that I do.
No.
I do kind of keep them separate.
You keep them separate, but they are linked, really.
Yeah. Yeah, massively.
Supper clubs and making gin aren't that particularly different. But then people think of you as the gin person, whereas they should think of you as Emma Priestley.
Yeah.
Who does this? Like when you think of Rosemary Stranger, right?
Strager, yeah.
Strager, who's kind of the celebrity chef of Tunbridge Wells.
Yes.
What's she? I was asking you, who is she? Like, what's she do? You're like, well, she's famous for these cooking schools, and she's like a TV chef, and she does this, like, but she is Rosemary Stranger. Like, the thing she did before isn't what she's defined as. She's her own brand, and because of that, her brand is worth a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and she does do a lot of traditional PR, so she does a lot of TV stuff. So she's more of a household name. And she does lots of different things on TV, like travel stuff, food stuff.
Yeah, so she's kind of this celebrity, basically. Yeah. She's a celebrity chef. But that is a bracket that has now been quite well understood.
Yes.
Can we create something that is similar but different? It's still about you, but it's not TV focused.
Yeah.
Because why TV? Like now, there's so many Instagram people who've never been on TV.
Well, it's TV because
really
we're talking about Rosemary and she's, 70?
Yeah, but I also think that it's TV because TV was the only way people got their personal brands out.
Yeah, at the time.
At the time. Now that's not the case anymore.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be on TV to be a brand in yourself.
Yes.
What about someone like Joe Wicks? He's another celebrity chef type person, but he didn't get there through TV. He got there through Instagram. And a lot of the people creating cookbooks at the moment are doing it because
of their Instagram
profile.
Yeah.
And really, if you want to create a cookery book, you need to have a big audience. You need to have a big personal brand.
Yeah.
And that brand can need to be around your business. You could be like the Hawksmoor and that cookery book.
Yeah.
Or it could be around you as a person and as a chef.
Yeah, and there's definitely space for both. And I think it's pretty difficult to go to a publisher with an idea for a book when you don't have the following now. I think it used to be about the idea.
A publisher would hunt out a chef and then say, we'll do all the promotion for you. Whereas now, they're hunting out people with big audiences.
Yes, but they know that they've got a captive audience to sell that book to.
Yeah, and it's almost gone the other way around. They're saying, we've got the food photographers, we've got the recipe testers, we can basically do everything for you. We just need your name and your brand to push out there. What a weird world we live in, eh? Oh, it's interesting, isn't it? So what sort of actionable points are there that I should be doing?
Well, I think you said you want to post more pictures on Instagram.
I want something that links my businesses together, that has me as like the central linchpin. And how do I do that in a way that's aspirational, that actually people want to see, that they like what they're doing,
and not authentic.
But yeah, it's not spammy and is authentic and not really American.
That's so English to say that.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do. Sparkly.
I think I'm doing alright on my blog. A couple of years ago, I changed it from being rbing.co.uk to sampriestley.com. I focus on my personal brand. I think I'm doing okay there. But I think when they'll read a blog post and then they'll look me up on Instagram, and I think Instagram is where I'm slightly being let down. So that's something that I need to work on and treat it more like mini blog posts. I should treat it like an extension of my personal brand.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you post from yesterday, or what would you post from Sunday?
Well, the problem is the photography behind it. Is I need to take.
No, I'm talking
pictures.
about content here, not pictures that already exist.
Well, what did we do?
Well, I already know the answer.
I've forgotten. What did we do on
Pictures
Sunday?
of us. Oh, okay. I was talking about yesterday. Pictures of us tasting the gin, tasting the new flavour.
Oh yeah. So tomorrow morning, we're working currently on scaling up our second flavour. So we had some gin we'd made, 1 bottle, and then some gin we made at 25 litre amount, and they should have been identical, but they're not because it's quite hard. So we were doing a lot of blind taste testing to work out what it is we can improve. So that's quite interesting. So that, along with a description of what it was, why we were doing it, I think could be quite interesting.
Yep. And then the one from Sunday, I'd say, would be a picture of the roast. And talking about how English it is and how you're enjoying being Tunbridge Wells, and you can't get a roast like this when you're in Thailand.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the 2 things I would say, looking back at the last 2 days.
Yeah. But then, Sunday we also went to church, and then we had dinner afterwards with everybody there. There is some content there that could be created about, community. And Saturday night we went out to one of your friends, Mai, who's a Maldivian, and she cooked us some amazing Maldivian food. So there's definitely content around that. I think I've just got to really think about what is applicable to my personal brand, like what adds to the image I'm trying to cultivate.
Yeah, not just as you live it, but I mean, maybe there are 4 or 5 different kind of headlines that you want to promote.
Yeah.
And if they don't fit into that,
yeah, I've just got to be really strategic, I think.
yeah.
All right, and what about you? What can you do differently? How are you going to build the Emma Priestley brand? Emma's Nomad Kitchen, Pie Path Gin.
Well, I mean, I can always post more pictures of food and me making food and me eating food, but I always kind of feel that there's a limit to how much.
It feels a bit cringy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have as well. Like when I first launched my blog, I didn't tell anyone about it for about 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and you still write blog posts now that you don't promote on email because you don't think they're good enough.
Yeah, and I don't post on Facebook often.
Which is ludicrous.
'Cause I'm a bit self-conscious.
And there's some other social media channels as well that you don't regularly post on, like LinkedIn, which you could.
Yeah.
I was looking at your LinkedIn yesterday.
Do we both just need to get over ourselves?
The last blog post you posted was last year. It was March.
The funny thing is like when I see someone post the sort of stuff I think's a bit cringy, I always go, well, that's a bit cringy. But then I'll go and read it. Like someone posts a blog post about whatever it is, something they've achieved. A picture of them being like, oh, look at my team that I've grown from 1 to 20, and then wrote a little blog post about it. I'll be like, oh, that's a bit cringy. Then I'll click on it and have a read. Maybe we just need to get over ourselves. Alright, well, I think on that note, we'll end this rather rambling, thought-provoking podcast. Thanks for listening. Actually, here's a good question. If you have any people on Instagram who are kind of doing entrepreneurial stuff and you think are doing really well and have a good personal brand, please can you send them to me? You can just instant message me on Instagram or email me at hello@sampriestley.com.
So your Instagram handle is @sfpriestley.
Yeah. Should I change that?
No, it's your name.
That's my name, yeah. But yeah, alright. Yeah. Alright, on that bombshell.
Bye.
Goodbye.